Hello, children. Today we will begin with Unit 4.2, The Luncheon, which was written by William Somerset Maugham. Children, he was a distinguished British playwright, novelist, and story writer. He was among the most popular writers of his own era. Now, children, this is a story about himself where he experiences a very different kind of a woman who says that she eats very less, but still she goes on eating, and that also with expensive dishes. Let's read and understand and see how exciting this story is. I caught sight of her at the play, and in answer to her call, I went over during the interval and sat down beside her. It was long since I had last seen her, and if someone had not mentioned her name, I had hardly think I would have recognized her. She addressed me brightly. Well, it's many years since we first met. How time flies! We are none of us getting any younger. Do you remember the first time I saw you? You asked me to luncheon. Did I remember? It was 20 years ago, and I was living in Paris. I had a tiny apartment, and I was earning barely enough money. She had read a book of mine and had written to me about it. I answered, thanking her, and presently I received from her another letter saying she was passing through Paris and would like to have a chat with me, but her time was limited, and the only free moment she had was on the following Thursday, and would I give her a little luncheon at Foyot's afterwards. Foyot's is a restaurant, and it was so far beyond my means that I had never even thought of going there. I had 80 francs, gold francs, to last me the rest of the month, and a modest luncheon should not cost more than 15. If I cut out coffee for the next 2 weeks, I could manage well enough. Now, children, in this passage, the meaning is franc, which is a currency that was earlier used in France and now it is replaced by euros. Down here, you can see the picture of the restaurant for yachts. Now, children, this is a story about the author itself, that is William Somerset. Now, what happens is that once he was at a play. Okay, a play is somewhere a skit is going on or a theater. Okay, so he was there, and then he just saw his one of his friend which he had met many years ago. But in the beginning, he did not recognize that friend of his. Why? Because she was unrecognizable. Her appearance was different. She was, it was around 20 years ago. So it was very long time for him to, even recognize her. So she had called out to her. Now finally he could recognize her because someone else had called out her name. So due to which he could remember that, oh, this is that friend of mine which I had met many, many years ago. Now, in this, what happens during the interval, okay, as the play came to an interval, that is a break time, that time he went towards her and sat beside her. Okay, Now, she said that, she says in this way that how time flies and it has been so long that we have not met and all these things. She remembers the past time when they met. Now, she asks a question to him that, do you remember, okay, do you remember that you had called me for a luncheon? To which he replies saying that it was 20 years ago. Okay, and that time this author, that was William Somerset, was living in Paris. Now, here he is explaining about the story, in which way they both met, that is, the friend and the author. So, 20 years ago, okay, they were living, that is, the author was living in Paris, and he was living in a very tiny apartment, okay, and he did not earn much money, okay, he was not that rich person, or he did not earn much money. And what happened is that he used to write books, okay, novels and all. So this friend had read one of his book, okay, which she liked the book, and in return she wrote a letter back to the author, okay. So then in answer to this letter, okay, he had received, he thanked her for, complimenting about, what she, or what compliments she had given for her book, because she had liked the book, right? So in another letter, okay, the guest or the friend of his told that she was coming to Paris, okay, and she would like to meet him and have a talk with him. But one thing was there in the letter. She mentioned that she did not have much time to meet, or she was very busy at that time, and the only free moment or day that she had was the coming Thursday, and that she would love, okay, she only told that she would love to, have lunch at a restaurant, okay, that is called as Fayot's. Now, children, Fayot is not a ordinary kind of a restaurant. It is a very expensive and royal kind of a restaurant at that time. So, as you all know, the author or the writer did not earn much. But now, as his friend had asked, okay, from front, that you take me to lunch to this so and so kind of a restaurant. So he couldn't say no to it. Okay, but he had never ever gone to this restaurant because it was very, very expensive. He couldn't afford that. So what he thought is that he couldn't say no, right, for that lunch. So he thought to himself that he had 80 francs with him. Okay. So he was calculating that how he can, do his budgeting for entire month. So he thought that let's go to there, to that restaurant, and he thought that the most expensive dish there would be not more than 15 francs. So he just made himself ready that let's go there, okay, and he told his friend that I will take you for the luncheon. He just thought that if he would cut his coffee for the next 2 weeks, then he would be able to manage the entire month properly without cutting out on anything else. I answered that I would meet my friend at Fayot's on Thursday at 12:30. She was in appearance imposing rather than attractive, and she gave me the impression of having more teeth, white and large and even, than were necessary for any practical purpose. She was talkative, but since she seemed to want to talk about me, I appeared to be an attentive listener. I was startled when the menu was brought, for the prices were a great deal higher than I had thought. But she reassured me. I never eat anything for luncheon. She said, "Oh, don't say that." I answered generously. I never eat more than one thing. I think people eat far too much nowadays. A little fish, perhaps. I wonder if they have any salmon. Well, it was early in the year for salmon, and it was not on the menu. But I asked the waiter if there was any. Yes, a beautiful salmon had just come in. It was the first they had had. I ordered it for my guest. The waiter asked her if she would have something while it was being cooked. No, she answered. I never eat more than one thing, unless you had a little caviar. I never mind caviar. Now, children, in this passage, the meanings are imposing means grand and impressive in appearance. Startled means cause to feel certain shock or alarm. Reassured means say something to remove the doubts. Now here children you can see the picture of salmon, which is a large edible fish which is very expensive. Now here children, as they both agreed and they were about to meet on the following Thursday, he said, okay, the writer said to his friend that he would meet her at Fayot's on Thursday at 12:30 in the afternoon. Okay, that is for lunch. Now, when they met at that restaurant, the friend, okay, in this passage now here, there is a little description and appearance is given about his friend, okay, the writer's friend. Now, what happened is that this friend of his appeared to be very, luxurious and grand and tried to be very attractive and impressive. But the writer did not feel that she was much attractive. And she showed her teeth as if they were very white and large. And the author or the writer felt that she had very large teeth, which was not necessary for normal use, okay, for biting or eating. She had unusual, very large teeth. The author felt like that. And she was very talkative. She was continuously talking and talking. But now what happened is that as the author was keeping quiet, so what he thought that he should be a good listener because she was continuously talking, about him, okay, all the material that she had read in his book, okay. So that is why the author that was there was listening to her very nicely, okay. He did not ignore her. Now, what happened is that as they were talking to each other, the menu arrived, okay. So when the menu arrived, the prices, when the author or the writer saw the prices, he was shocked, okay. He was shocked by looking at the prices that were there on the menu, because what he had thought, okay, before entering or before coming to this restaurant, they were much more higher, the prices were much more higher than he had thought. But now what happened, children, when he was shocked, the friend of his, told him to calm down, okay. She made him, cleared his doubts that she doesn't eat much for lunch, okay. She eats very less for lunch. So after listening to this, the writer felt, relieved, because he was very scared and shocked after looking at the prices for each and every dish on the menu. So, but now he couldn't say that, okay, you eat one dish or two dish. But in order to keep a good behavior, he said that don't say that. Okay, you can eat anything that you want. But inside, he knew that he did not have that much of money. Now, again she said, I don't eat more than one thing. Okay, she always said this line that she doesn't eat more than one thing for lunch or dinner, whatever. Okay, and she also says that nowadays people eat a lot of food, okay, which is not good for health. And then she said that she would have a little fish, okay. And then after telling this, she said that she would like to have salmon if this restaurant had it. Now, what happened, children? at that time when they were in the restaurant, and that month or the year, part of the year that were there, that time it was not the season for that fish, that is salmon. Okay, but in order to just make it sure, they just called the waiter and asked him if there was any salmon fish. So the waiter said yes, that the fish was, it was the first fish that had arrived in their restaurant, and it would be very tasty, and they can order that fish because they had it. Okay, and then he ordered salmon. Then what the waiter said that the fish would take a little long to cook. Okay, so would they have anything in between the cooking time, anything else? Then the guest who was there, she said that no, she did not want to have anything because she never ate more, okay, more than one thing. But while saying this, she said that she wouldn't mind eating a little caviar. Now, children, caviar is the fish eggs, okay, pickled fish eggs. And children, mind you, these are also very, very expensive. Now, while she was saying that she doesn't eat more than one thing, she also said that she wouldn't mind eating caviar. Okay. I knew I could not afford caviar, but I could not very well tell her that. For myself, I chose the cheapest dish on the menu, and that was a mutton chop. I think you are unwise to eat meat, she said. I don't believe in overloading my stomach. She ate the caviar and she ate the salmon. She talked gaily of art and literature and music. But I wondered what the bill would come to. When my mutton chop arrived, she took me quite seriously to task. I see that you're in the habit of eating a heavy luncheon. I'm sure it's a mistake. Why don't you follow my example and just eat one thing? I couldn't possibly eat anything more unless they had some of those giant asparagus. I should be sorry to leave Paris without having some of them. My heart sank. I had seen them in the shops, and I knew that they were horribly expensive. My mouth had often watered at the sight of them. I'm not in the least hungry, my guest sighed. But if you insist, I don't mind having some asparagus. I ordered them. Aren't you going to have any? No, I never eat asparagus. So the meanings are caviar, as I told you earlier, they are the pickled fish eggs which are available in different species of fishes that is eaten as a delicacy. Gaily means in a cheerful, light-hearted way. And asparagus is a tall plant of the lily family that is cultivated for consumption. You can see both the pictures down there, that is caviar and asparagus. And these two dishes are also very, very expensive. Now, children, as the guest told that she would not mind, to have caviar, okay, then the author was again in thinking. Okay, he was in a thought that now what would be the bill. Okay, because he was very scared because his guest or his friend was ordering all the expensive dishes, and she went on saying that she did not have more than one thing, but still she had all the expensive dishes. And then thinking about all these things, the writer was looking into the menu and finding or searching for the cheapest dish that was available in the menu. And then he found out the cheapest dish, that was mutton chop. So then he ordered this, okay, that is a mutton chop. And then while he was ordering his mutton chop, his friend told that you are eating such a heavy, dish, that is the meat is very heavy. You shouldn't eat meat because it is very heavy. You should follow, she's saying that you should follow my advice, that is eat less. Okay, because she always said that she does not eat more than one thing for lunch or for food. So she was telling that you shouldn't overload your stomach. You should eat how much your stomach can carry. So she said that, and she ate the caviar. While she was saying that, she ate the caviar and then she ate the salmon also. Okay, everything she ate. She talked gaily of art because so while she was eating, she also talked about art and literature and music. She was discussing on these topics while she was eating. Then the author or the writer was really in very very deep thoughts that how and what the bill would be, okay, how much the bill would be. And then when his mutton chop came, okay, the friend of his was, looking at him as if he was eating so much of food. Okay, she took him to a task. She said that you are, eating very heavy food. You should stop eating all these things because it is not good for health. Okay, and she's saying that you should follow her example and eat just one thing. So now the author or the writer was thinking that okay, even this simple and one dish of mine is very heavy for her. Okay, he was thinking all these things because he was very scared for the bill that would come because she had ordered almost everything that was expensive in the menu. Okay, so she's saying that I couldn't possibly eat anything more unless they had some of those giant asparagus. Okay, so she was saying even after eating salmon, caviar, okay, she's saying that she would like to have a giant asparagus. She's saying that she wouldn't like to leave Paris without having asparagus because they are very famous and very expensive dish there. So then after listening to this, the writer who was there, his heart sank. What do you mean by heart sank? He was, like now nothing can happen because he had seen these asparagus outside in the shops. He had only seen them and he knew that they were very, very, very expensive and he never ate them. And whenever he saw the asparagus in the shops, his mouth always watered. He wanted to eat them, but he couldn't. Why? Because he couldn't afford them. So that is why his heart sank when his friend said that she would like to eat asparagus before leaving Paris. Now, I am not in the least hungry, my guest sighed. That means now, even after ordering and eating so many things, she is saying that she is not hungry. Okay? And she sighed in a relief. But she's saying that if you tell me to eat more, then I would not mind. That means she would not mind eating asparagus. And then they ordered it. And then she asked, that is, a friend asked the writer, that are you not going to have anything? Okay, or are you not going to have any asparagus? And to this, the author answered saying that he never ate asparagus because this was in a very cunning way because it is very expensive and he couldn't afford it. We waited for the asparagus to be cooked. Panic seized me. It was not a question now of how much money I should have left over for the rest of the month, but whether I had enough to pay the bill. It would be mortifying to find myself 10 francs short and be obliged to borrow from my guest. I knew exactly how much I had, and if the bill came to more, I made up my mind that I would put my hand in my pocket and with a dramatic cry start up and say it had been picked. Of course, it would be awkward if she had not money enough either to pay the bill. Then the only thing would be to leave my watch and say I would come back and pay later. The asparagus appeared. I watched her thrush them down her throat in large mouthfuls. At last she finished. Coffee, I said. Yes, just an ice cream and coffee, she answered. I was past caring now, so I ordered coffee for myself and an ice cream and coffee for her. You know, There's one thing I thoroughly believe in, she said, as she ate the ice cream. One should always get up from a meal feeling one could eat a little more. So here the meanings are: panic means sudden, uncontrollable fear. Mortifying means cause to feel very embarrassed or ashamed. Obliged means morally bound to do something. Thrust means push down. Now, children, as the friend of the author wanted to eat asparagus, they ordered it and then they waited for the asparagus to be cooked. Now, there was a lot of tension going on around the writer's head. Now, what was the question is, okay, he was very worried about the bill. Now, earlier when they entered, okay, before coming to this restaurant, the author had thought, okay, like so and so the dishes might cost and so thing, and so money he would keep for the rest of his month. But now, after his friend had eaten almost all the expensive things in the menu, now he was not worried that how he will spend his month or how much money will be left for the rest of the month. But now he was worried that if he would have enough money to pay the bill. Okay, that was a big question in his mind and he was very worried about the bill. So he was thinking that it would be like he would feel very embarrassed, okay, that to find himself 10 francs short, okay, that he would feel very embarrassed if he wouldn't have money, if his friend found out that he did not have money to pay the bill. Okay, so that is why there were many things that were going on his mind. And then he thought that he would think as a moral thing to do something, to borrow the money from the guest. Okay, there would not be anything to borrow money from his guest. So he knew exactly how much he had, okay, how much money he had. And if the bill had come more than he had, then he would have to think to do something. So then he started thinking of some solutions, that how he would pay the bill if it would be more. Okay. So what did he think? He thought that he would say that his pocket or his wallet had been stolen, okay, or picked by someone, and he would cry and do some drama saying that his pocket or his wallet had been picked away. Okay, and then he was thinking that this would be awkward, okay, because doing all those things. Why? Because if he would say this and then even his friend would not have enough money to pay the bill, then what they would do? Then he thought that the only one thing left for him to do was to leave his wristwatch, okay, in the restaurant, and then come back and pay later. Okay, so these were the three things that he was thinking while he was sitting in the restaurant. Okay, he was continuously thinking about all the solutions. Now finally the asparagus came, it cooked, and the waiter brought it. And then his friend was, as soon as it came, he saw that his friend was taking huge morsels of those uh, asparagus. She was eating very quickly, as if she had never seen them or she had never eaten anything. She was eating so quickly and putting down under her throat. So at last she finished the asparagus, and then the author or the writer asked that if she would have coffee. And then she did not say no. She said yes. And on top of it, she told that she would also have ice cream. Okay, now you can see how much she eats. But then too, she says that she eats nothing more than one. And now, what happened is that the writer thought that now I should not care anymore, because till now the price or the amount, total amount in the bill might have exceeded more than what he had, the amount of money that he had. So then he stopped caring about the bill, and then he also ordered himself a coffee. Then she said, okay, that is the writer's friend said that she believes in, only one thing, thoroughly believes in one thing, that you should, get up from your seat, or get up from your meal feeling hungry, okay, that you're always ready to eat more, okay, you should be hungry, you should not fill your stomach. And then she ate the ice cream, she drank the coffee, and she's saying that one should, always get up from the meal feeling hungry. Okay, that one should be ready to eat more. You should not fill your stomach more with full with all the food that is there. Okay, she was telling this to the author who did not eat anything. Are you still hungry? I asked faintly. Oh no, I'm not hungry. You see, I don't eat luncheon. I have a cup of coffee in the morning and then dinner. But I never eat more than one thing for luncheon. I was speaking for you. Oh, I see. Then a terrible thing happened. While we were waiting for the coffee, the head waiter came up to us bearing a large basketful of huge peaches. But surely peaches were not in season then. Lord knew what they cost. I knew a little later, for my guest, going on with her conversation, absent mindedly took one. You see, you have filled your stomach with a lot of meat. My one miserable little chop, and you can't eat any more. But I have just had a snack, and I shall enjoy a peach. The bill came, and then I paid it. I found that I had only enough for a quite inadequate tip. Her eyes rested for an instant on the 3 francs I left for the waiter, and I knew that she thought me mean. But when I walked out of the restaurant, I had the whole month before me and not a penny in my pocket. Follow my example, she said, as we shook hands, and never eat more than one thing for luncheon. I'll do better than that, I retorted. I'll eat nothing for dinner tonight. Humorist, she cried gaily, jumping into a cab. You are quite a humorist. But I have had my revenge at last. I do not believe that I am a vindictive man. But when the gods take a hand in the matter, it is understandable to observe the result with satisfaction. Today she weighs 21 stone. So here the meanings are: faintly means slightly. Absent minded means having or showing a forgetful deposition. Inadequate means insufficient. Retorted means say something in answer to a remark. Vindictive means having a strong desire for revenge. 21 stone, it's a kind of a phrase. It is a way to measure the weight of a person using a stone which equals to 14 pounds. It was specially used in the European countries. Now, children, after having all these things, the writer, okay, asked his friend if she was still hungry, okay, because he had seen how much she had eaten, and he wanted to make sure that if she was still hungry, okay, faintly, okay, slightly. So then the friend answered saying that, oh no, that she was not hungry. And then again she just told her own thing that she does not eat luncheon. Okay. She says that her daily routine is that she has a cup of coffee in the morning and then directly dinner. She does not eat anything much. So you might understand what the author might be thinking. She ate so many things in front of her and she is saying that she does not have luncheon. But she never ate more than one thing. Okay, that line she said. Okay, and now she is saying that I am telling for you. That is, she is trying to say that don't eat more than one thing to the author. Now the author is thinking that he had only one mutton chop, and on that also she is commenting by saying that he is eating more food, okay, heavy food. So now, while they were talking to themselves, okay, when they were having a conversation, there was a very terrible thing that happened, okay, when they were talking and when they were waiting for the coffee. Now, when that thing happened, the head waiter, okay, who was there, he came with a huge basket, okay, in which there were peaches, okay, huge peaches. Now, what happened is that the author knew that it was not the season of peaches, and then he was started to think that they might be very, very expensive. But as he was thinking, and while they were continuously having a conversation, the guest, that is his friend, took one peach absent-mindedly. Means what? Just, as the waiter just was carrying and moving from that table, she just took one peach and started having it, okay, without even asking. And then the and then the author thought that now it's finished, because he did not knew what the bill would come and how expensive these peaches were. Now he was thinking so much, and still the friend of his was saying that you should not have much more. He was just thinking that he came to such an expensive restaurant and he ate only one mutton chop. And that too, for that also, his friend is continuously telling him not to eat heavy meal. Okay. Now, as she was enjoying her peach, okay, she was enjoying and had her peach, the bill came, okay, and then he paid it, okay, and then as he paid the bill, he had that much of amount of money to pay, okay. Now he was at rest that at least the bill did not come more than what money he had, okay. And now, children, as you all know, in expensive restaurants, and even if whenever we go to any restaurants, people keep little bit of tip. Now, as this was a very expensive and a big restaurant, he had to keep a little bit of tip, okay. So he had only little money to keep as a tip for the money after paying the bill. He did not have any more money. So while he was keeping the tip, okay, that is 3 francs he left for the waiter, okay. So while he was keeping the money there, his friend was looking at him in a very weird way, as if, the tip that he was keeping was very less. Now the author or the writer only knew what his situation was. The friend of his did not knew anything. She just ate and ate and ate. Now he left that tip there and they came out of the restaurant. Now the writer had a whole month in front of him and he had no money left in his pocket. Now again his friend told that you should follow her example. They shook hands and she told that you should never eat more than one thing for luncheon. Okay? And then when she said this, the author said a very humorous and a funny thing. That is, he told her that I will do better than this. That is, he will not eat anything for dinner tonight. And that is just the friend of his thought that it was a joke, humorous. Okay, humorous means what? A funny joke. She thought that he is joking. But for the author, it was reality. Why? Because he knew that he did not have any money for anything else. So she was very cheerful and she was very happy that she ate and she was had a good chat with his friend, and then she went into the cab, okay, and then again she said that you are very funny man, a humorist. But only the author knew, the writer knew that what he was going through, okay. So as all this scene happened, now after 20 years when they met, okay, that is the present scenery when they met in the first 4 lines. Now when they met, now the author is saying, the writer is saying that all this thing that his friend did to him in that restaurant, he has finally taken his revenge, okay. The author is not a very revengeful person, but now his friend had put him in a very, very difficult situation in the restaurant by ordering all the expensive foods, okay, dishes. So now, after 20 years, he says that my revenge is complete now. How, children? Because when they met after 20 years, his friend, when they met at the play, he saw that his friend weighs 21 stones. So, what is 21 stones? It means a very, very, obese person, a fat person. So, that is why, because of her eating habits, she became very obese. Okay. And then he thinks that this was his revenge towards her friend, his friend. Okay. Now, he was satisfied that God had helped him. Okay. Because his friend had, done very bad to him by ordering all the expensive dishes. She was not considerate, or she did not even tell that I would pay the half bill. Okay. So that is why he thought that God had, done justice, and he had taken his revenge, and he got the final satisfaction. So, children, here we completed with the explanation for this lesson. Thank you for listening. Take care.